Good morning. I'm Eric Blank, and this is the Commissioners' weekly meeting for Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. Commissioner Gilman, any preliminary remarks? Are you ready to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Good morning. I would vote to approve the consent agenda.
As would I. Proceeding number 24C-0042-INS. Mr. DeSenza, Cana Cabana Bus.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mitchell DeCenzo of your Commission Council. Last week, the Commission voted to grant Cabana Bus's late filed exceptions that were necessarily construed as RRR with the intention to reinstate its common carrier authority. Reviewing the filings, the Commission decided bus insurance by the deadline, despite it being late in uploading the documentation. Unfortunately, the decision was not issued by the statutory deadline of April 10th. By statute under CRS 46-114, because no decision was issued, the RRR was therefore denied. Consequently, we bring this item back for a procedural solution that enables the Commission to reach the same result as last week, granting Cabana Bus's requested relief and reinstating its common carrier authority. Because the RRR was denied by operation of law when no decision was issued, we recommend today that the Commission instead grant Cabana Bus's March 29th motion that came in after the late exceptions were filed. As permitted under CRS 46-112, granting the March 29th motion allows the Commission to reach the same result it intended and revise the decision fully revoking Cabana Bus's authority, and instead reinstate that authority as requested. If you accept this recommendation, one order will issue based on your deliberations. It can clarify that the late filed exceptions were necessarily RRR and denied given the timing in issuing a decision, but that the Cabana Bus motion is nevertheless granted and its common carrier authority is reinstated. I will pause here for your discussion and votes.
Commissioner Gilman. Let me just ask a question. Yeah, let me just ask a question. So did we need to get the order out by April 10th, but didn't get it out? Is that what happened?
That's correct.
Okay. Sorry. If you can go ahead, Commissioner Gilman.
Yeah, no worries. I agree with your recommendation.
As do I, and that can be an ABC decision modifying our prior one from April 10th due to denial by operation of law. So thank you, Mr. DeCenzo.
Thank you.
Proceeding number 23M-0175T, Mr. Cameron, Mr. Wallace, inmate telecommunications service.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Royal Cameron, and I'm a regulatory analyst for the Inmate Communications Services staff. Today, I'm going to be presenting the second annual report for calendar year 2023 for our program. Broadly, HB 21-1201 established our program with the objective of creating transparency and accountability within penal communication services. There's four main requirements of this House bill: quarterly reporting, biannual quality testing, the intake of informal consumer complaints, and to provide an annual report to highlight the details observed on cost and quality of calls, understanding provider methods of charging consumers, to report information on issues observed in quality testing, and finally to share and observe trends in provider compliance with FCC rate caps. In 2023, House Bill 1133 set some new customs for the Department of Corrections to follow within the realm of penal communications. It set a staggered timeline for inmate voice communications to be free. The cost of inmate voice communications will be covered by the DOC fully by the year 2025. This bill also made a bold policy change that would end the payments of commissions, specifically to the Department of Corrections only. These payments are revenue sharing schemes contractually agreed upon between a provider and a facility for incarcerated people. To clarify, though, these are commission payments, not to be confused with our Public Utilities Commission. In 2023, the Declaratory Order 22D0293T was also completed. In short, ALJ Murbaba upheld ICS staff's position that VoIP inmate communication service providers, specifically HomeWave, is not preempted by federal law, and that regardless of the specific format chosen based on the undisputed facts, The ALJ concluded that HomeWave's inmate communications platform is a system for transmitting or exchanging information, and that HomeWave provides penal communication services within the meaning of 1742-103-2E. And this is 2 correctional facilities in Colorado for use by end users and is therefore subject to the statute itself. Following this ruling, HomeWave has since fulfilled its statutory requirements to report on all items since Q4 21. It has provided its unclaimed fund policy and adhered to its requirements to create verbiage directing informal consumer complaints to the Colorado PUC. As for the quarterly reporting throughout the year, it was noticed that HomeWave was initially incapable of quantifying the cost per minute of voice calls. We worked with this company to establish the data sales compared to the thresholds of data usage, and they would have an equal pricing between 10.5 cents and 18 cents, which falls within the rate caps themselves. Turnkey corrections, based on our assessments, may be out of compliance with FCC rate cap violations, as they have self-reported potential instances of per minute price points that exceed FCC regulation. Telewest is a company that has repeatedly been non-compliant with deadlines, causing ICS section reporting requirements to the public to be delayed and to be amended every single quarter after they've been published. Moving into the biannual testing piece, it has been largely successful, but in certain instances has become cumbersome to compel facilities to cooperate with their statutory requirements to assist in ICS staff completion of the test calls. The tests themselves have shown largely most of the calls were successful. In some cases, outbound calls had issues of being able to connect, but on a case-by-case basis, funds were added to test inmate accounts by ICS program staff to complete the test. These costs are relatively minor, but are not reimbursed by facilities or providers. To highlight this exact situation, Montezuma County Jail, which is serviced by Turnkey, did not connect initially. Throughout several attempts to reconnect, automated messages would play over our communication. After this, we added money and we still experienced the message. However, we were able to complete 2 separate test calls that completed the test in general. And these costs of the final test were basically inconsistent with what we should have seen the costs equal to. In one instance, the costs that were reported from a facility itself differentiated from the quarterly reported cost per minute from the provider HomeWave, and this was at Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Moving into the complaints piece, ICS staff has seen a huge influx of complaints, from roughly 8 complaints in 23 to over 50 in 2023. Of these 50 reported complaints, there was a huge issue seemingly with the provider Securus. They had a huge lack of video capability in many facilities. In many instances, there was an inability to connect. There was also call quality lacking in higher traffic hours throughout the day. In order to kind of present this in a more legible way to the public, the ICS section created a dashboard to better facilitate responses from the public, to track types of complaints, the providers associated with the complaints, and to see the trends throughout the year. We do want to discuss commission payments. Again, this is not to be confused with the Public Utilities Commission. These are revenue sharing agreements between facilities and providers. HB 231133 did end DOC commission payments. However, it does not end this practice for any other facilities throughout the state. This seems to be an issue that needs to be considered by legislation. It does artificially inflate costs of penal communications, passing these costs on to the consumers who cannot choose their provider. There's also a lack of accountability in how these funds are eventually utilized. In one instance, they were used to purchase pay-per-view fights for inmates. Moving forward, we're looking forward to the completion of the Martha Wright Reed Act, which the FCC will be delivering before 2025, and they're going to look to create a set of rate caps that will apply to in-state calling. We do hope to see some reform in commission payments, but that cannot be for sure. To conclude, we're happy to report the results of the quarterly reports, biannual testing, the complaints, and adherence of regulation. I guess I can turn this over and ask if there's any questions or any comments at this time.
Yeah, I do have one question, then I'll turn it over to Commissioner Gilman. Do we have the authority to address commissions between the individual facilities, or does that need legislation?
We do not have the ability to address these commission payments, and that would need the legislation. At this time, we do not have the authority to intervene at all with the commission payments.
Thanks for that clarification. Commissioner Gilman, questions, comments, thoughts, wherever you'd like to take it.
Yeah, just wanted to thank you, Mr. Cameron, and the ICS team for this important work, new work for the commission, but very important. And I think we're kind of discovering new things every day since it's a new area of work, but really appreciate the work you all are doing there. One thing that strikes me, especially in seeing an uptick of complaints, is to me it would be very helpful if you all perhaps were able to track kind of complaints. I don't want to say complaints per capita, but like complaints per population served, because it's possible some of these providers serve much larger populations, which likely would net just naturally in more complaints since they're servicing more people. So that could be a really helpful thing if you are able to incorporate that into some of your data collection to make the data even more understandable. And then it seems to me, as we look at the transition of Department of Corrections covering the costs, especially I think at least of voice calls in the coming years, access and quality will become really major issues to focus on, since cost, at least in that circumstance, will fall away. But understandably, if there is not good access or good quality, even if it's free, that they're not being provided with the service in a meaningful way. So look forward to you all continuing this work and really appreciate the update.
Certainly. Thank you very much. We will see you next week. We are preparing draft rules for a notice of proposed rulemaking. I did want to ask, prior to concluding here, do we have permission from the commission to submit this report to legislation, as it's currently only a requirement to be publicly published?
I mean, you certainly have my support. Just see if council has any concerns about the mechanics of that. But I guess Commissioner Gilman, I'd vote to approve that, subject to run it by council. You have any? Would you say it different, Commissioner Gilman?
No, I agree. So I think your plan, Mr. Cameron, is just to provide a copy to legislators just to ensure they're aware of the report. Sounds reasonable to me, with the same caveat as the chairman.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just would echo Commissioner Gilman's comments. It's great having your team on the job and raising these issues and making things better. So really pleased to see that. And it sounds like even that one provider, was it Securitas, had all those concerns. It seems like some of that may be transitionary. That's what I recall from our briefing. So there's some hope that gets significantly better quickly.
That's certainly the hope. And yes, as they did win the contract with the DOC as they're transitioning, and the hope is that these things will start to clear up as time moves forward.
Well, again, great having you on the job. Thanks for the update, and we'll look forward to the notice of proposed rulemaking next week or
Thanks
whenever it shows up. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, commissioners.
Thank you. Proceeding number 24M-0173E into our investigation of the April windstorm and Xcel Energy's planned power shutoffs. So I just wanted to quickly follow up from our discussion last week, where we talked about a broader, more structured informational meeting with all three commissioners, where we have an opportunity to engage in an open dialogue, not only with the company, but also impacted customers, community leaders, emergency responders, and maybe others. I'm thinking we could maybe start with the company presenting a quick overview of what happened and its answers to our questions from last week. Maybe we then go to a panel of impacted customers sharing their experiences in more detail. And then a separate panel of community leaders and emergency responders providing their thoughts. After talking with the team, I wanted to run 2 dates by you for this commissioner information meeting, either Monday, May 6th, sometime between 9 a.m. and noon, or Thursday, May 9th, between 9 and 11. So the idea is we would vote today to ask advisors to set up this informational meeting during one of those two blocks of time, depending on party availability. And I'm thinking we just the three of us would hold that time on the schedule until the team can get something up. So just wanted to run that by you, Commissioner Gilman, see if you had any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, wherever you'd like to take it.
Yeah, no, I think either of those dates works for me, May 6th or 9th. So either is acceptable as far as I'm concerned. And then I think we'll just have to maybe do some more thinking internally about what the kind of individual customer perspective piece of this looks like, especially considering that we'll have the public comment hearing. Public service announcement reminder, we have a public comment hearing this afternoon from 4 to 7 virtually, so it's accessible through our website. But to think about how, you know, if we use 2 hours and segment it out, you know, how do we kind of properly plan around that piece? I don't want to cut anyone off, but we do have this other opportunity and want to ensure we kind of apportion that meeting so that we can hear these different perspectives. So we'll probably just need to think about what's the appropriate kind of time and balance with the other public comment hearing to have that as part of it. But that's kind of my only more specific thought. Otherwise, I think your initial stakeholder list was pretty good.
All right. So I think we can do that as an ABC order, setting a commissioner's information meeting at the discretion of the team, subject to what they hear back from the potential participants and consistent with your request. So I think that concludes our agenda. Any other thoughts, comments, Commissioner Gilman, before we adjourn?
No, I got in my plug for this afternoon's public comment hearing, so I'm good. I'll see you again this afternoon.
Yeah, well, apparently we've got over 700 public comments already, and we have over 130 people signed up. Not all of them may want to comment, but that's the list. So look forward to that, and see you in a few hours. Thanks, everyone. We're adjourned.
Okay.